Welcome to the Magicball AI Engineering Summit. I am Neha, your host for today, and I can already tell it's going to be an incredible evening. Before we kick things off, let's take a moment to look around. This room is packed with people shaping the future of AI. Engineers, founders, researchers, each of you is building what's next. Can we start with a huge round of applause for that, please? Let's rewind for a second. Why are we here? Magicball started in July 2023, backed by Grayscale Ventures. At the time, there were AI builders everywhere, but no community to connect them. We saw the gap and filled it. Today, we're 8,000 members strong and hosted hundreds of product demos, helped founders launch Product Hunt and Hacker News, find their first few customers, and even raise funding. And here's something we're really proud of. Some of Magicball's early supporters are now YC alumni. That's what happens when the right people come together. But this is just the beginning. By the end of this year, we're on a mission to empower 15,000 AI founders, because Bangalore isn't just keeping up with AI, we're defining the future. How many of you witnessed that electrifying moment when Team India lifted the ICC Champions Trophy this weekend? What a phenomenal victory, isn't it? Let's give them a thunderous round of applause. Just like that, we have our own championship to win, the AI Champions Cup. Our competitors, China, Europe, the US, they're all in the race. But we, my friends, we are the strongest contenders, and you are the fuel to drive us to victory. So let's ignite our creativity, embrace the spirit of innovation, and set our sights on making India the global leader in AI. The future isn't waiting, it's ours to build. None of this would be possible without our amazing partners. A huge shout out to Stripe, Lightspeed Ventures, and Grayscale Ventures for making today happen. Let's give them a big round of applause. So here's what's coming up. First, we'll hear from 4 of our amazing speakers sharing insights on AI engineering, models, and infrastructure. Then we jump into live product demos, 5 AI startups unveiling their work right here in Bangalore for the world to experience. And it doesn't stop there. 10 more startups are showcasing their work in the Experience Lounge outside. Be sure to check them out. A quick heads up before beginning. There will be a Q&A session happening later during the networking session. So if you have any questions, jot it down, save it up, and chat with them afterwards. Before continuing, I have an announcement to make. There's an Apple charger here. If someone needs to collect it, it will be there with me. Proceeding ahead, let's dive into our Speaker Insight track. We've got 4 incredible speakers lined up, bringing real insights into AI engineering, scaling startups, and pushing the boundaries of what's possible. First up, please welcome Arkajit, an applied AI researcher at AtomicWorks.
All right. Hello, everyone. This is Arkajit Datta from AtomicWorks, and I'm an applied AI researcher. My work revolves around building AI-driven solutions that enhance enterprise service management. Over the past year, I have been deeply involved in AI agent research and designing agentic systems that optimize enterprise automation. So today's agenda, we'll try to see what AtomicWorks does as a company, and then we'll start with Atom, which is our conversational bot, and then we'll see our agentic framework, which we recently built, and yeah, some of the AI agents in action after that. Yeah. All right, so let's take an example to understand what AtomicWorks does. For starters, it's agentic service management. In short, better version of ServiceNow. Okay. So let's take an example. Let's say Vikram is there. he is logged out of his laptop and he is not able to log in again. What his life will look like, he'll go to a IT service team. He'll ask for someone's help that please reset my password. The IT service team will then assign someone. That guy will make a ticket on his name, will start working, and half of his day will be gone after that. If you have Atom, then what you can do is directly text Atom that my laptop is not working. Atom will understand your problem, classify that what the problem is, and will directly help you with the process of resetting your password. And actually, you can do it directly from your mobile phone because we are integrated both in Slack and Teams. So yeah, we save up a lot of time, and he can actually focus on something which is really important to him. All right, so let's take an example. Let's see like what Atom actually does and how it helps. So it can answer questions from documentation, policies, and internal knowledge, which is ingested, right? So you can connect your SharePoint, Confluence, and we have various more connectors. It learns from the data and actually gives you the answers, which is specific to your enterprise. Next up, you can also raise service request incidents and raising tickets, processing approvals, and provisioning access. Everything is possible directly from Slack and Teams. I mean, you can directly text Atom, and it is done in seconds. Lastly, it is also connected to your tech stack. Let's say you are using different other enterprise softwares, enterprise tools. It gets connected directly with that, and you can directly apply for leaves, as in we can see it gets connected with Workday, and you can directly apply for leaves from there. Not just Atom is intelligent, AtomicWorks as a platform, which is being used by the service teams, is also quite intelligent, where we have integrated AI everywhere. We have built it in an AI native manner. So let's say you are raising a ticket. The agent can actually get these attributes suggested on real time, and obviously it can also summarize on what the problem was, so that the agent can actually focus on which is important, that is solving or resolving the issue which the user had. All right, now going in how we have designed our conversational bot, right? So our goal was to design a conversational bot. We kept it really simple initially. So it was able to serve knowledge that is connecting with your data source, anything like SharePoint, Confluence, Notion, and we learned from there. It had verified answers. You can, put these verified answers which gets ingested on real time and gets served. We have trusted knowledge, wherein you can configure on how Atom can surf through the internet and get the right answer. And obviously, service items and incidents which can be raised from Atom. Atom is also connected to the skills. It has various kind of skills and tools which it can use to do various more jobs. The problem in this pipeline, if you see in the middle, which is the Atom pipeline, we have everything as small components. So initially, it was like the user query was directly sent to the Atom pipeline, and the answer was being sent directly to the user through our channels. The issue was that it wasn't that intelligent, right? It was feeling very robotic. So for that, we iterated multiple times. Obviously, we learned from our failures and understood that if we have a pre-processor and a post-processor, in the pre-processor, we basically understand the conversational history. We do certain kind of filtration, in which you can see LLM guard and ambiguity detection, which is on the top, so which will help filter out the things which are not necessary or something which Atom doesn't work with, right? And then it also understands the conversation history, gets data from the user metadata, which is there in the platform, and obviously which is ingested. For example, let's say I am having a problem in my laptop. It will rephrase it into that I have a problem in my MacBook, because it knows that I'm using a MacBook. So those things, rephrasing and different kind of filtration, is done in the preprocessor layer. Then the rephrased query is being passed through a intent classifier, which classifies that what exactly needs to be done. And after that, when we have generated most of the results, like we have served through the knowledge base, we have served through what are the service items are there, then we pass every answer through the post processor, do certain kind of re-ranking with various models which are out there, and obviously LLMs, and then try to find out that which is the correct answer according to the query which we got. So this is the Atom pipeline, how in general it works. Moving on to the AI agents framework and why we created our own AI agent framework. We wanted to make Atom a bit more capable on doing more better and more intelligent jobs, right? So what we saw that the frameworks which are out there, none of them are like kind of production ready, or they are kind of too complex to use, and maybe if you want to configure something in that, you'll end up writing wrappers on top of it. And because we are into a specific niche where we want to solve something very specific to ITSM, we thought that, okay, why not we create our own agentic framework on which we have the total control on. So that brings up to our agentic framework. We took inspiration from LangGraph and LangFlow. So it's a graphical agentic framework wherein there are various nodes. Each node is an agent component, and which is obviously, connected to the children and the subchildrens. Now, Atom is connected to an agent classifier, right, which classifies that which agent to pick up. So let's say that your enterprise deploys around 100 agents. For this query, which is the agent required, this classifier actually filters it out. After that, we are using temporal to load this whole graph and run each node as an activity. Actually, that helps it to run it durably, like make the graph execution much more durable. And then obviously the apps and the business data which is connected is something which the agents can access. And in the agent framework, if you see, we initialize a node, then there is a component which is the agent component. We execute that agent component, probably ask few questions, user will answer those questions. As the agent component, the component is done its execution, we find the next node and this runs as a loop. Then, obviously, while this is happening, we are doing LLM tracing and adding up into the analytics so that we know that what happened while the agent was running. Let me show you one of the agents which is in action, which is our troubleshooting agent. So let's say you have a VPN connecting problem. It asks you a question, and then you clarifies it. Then it will again try to troubleshoot that what was the problem actually, and it will try to solve it and give you the exact answer, probably a knowledge answer or a service item or a specific incident which needs to be raised for this can be done by Atom. And this actually works well for even the service teams, because L0 and L1 kind of troubleshooting is something which we observed was happening a lot, right? Whenever a service request is being raised, an agent will come, the human agent will come and ask these questions that, okay, what was the problem, tell me. And you will be clarifying that. So why not Atom do that? And this, as soon as the service request is being raised, all this data, all this conversation is being summarized in the ticket, and the human agent knows that what exactly the problem and focus on the resolution of that. All right. So there is another example on where we are using our agentic framework. This is the knowledge assist, where you are based. So what Atom does is it tries to find that what kind of questions it is not able to answer. So let's say if you are saying that this answer was not helpful for me or something, in that regard, Atom will basically check those questions from the analytics and will try to cluster that which kind of questions were not answered. And those questions will be given as a list, and then you can click on the generate verified answer. What this thing will do is try to find out the exact answer by learning from the knowledge sources and also the service items which are already being resolved. So it knows that what was the answer for this problem. Let's say, for example, there was a Wi-Fi issue in your company and probably 10 people will start, texting in the IT channel or to Atom that, okay, there is a Wi-Fi issue and we are not able to connect to it. What Atom does is, probably Atom won't know the answer at that moment, but if one of these human agents solves it, Atom learns from there at the moment and will generate a verified answer. That verified answer will be served to the other users. So this becomes very easy for the enterprises to manage how the answers are being shown to the users. And obviously, I mean, you can resolve and deflect more tickets. Right, so key takeaways from this is how we are able to deploy agents, AI agents in enterprises. What we have learned is like we have to follow these three pillars: security, configurability, and robustness. In security, as I was talking, that we have LLM guards and some kind of filtration in the preprocessor layer. So this allows us to basically filter out something which Atom is not supposed to do. So obviously Atom won't do something which is not possible by it. And about configurability, what we have done is we have given utmost control to the enterprises on how they can manage and mend the AI according to how they want. So configurability is really important. They always love to have the control on everything. And robustness is we are doing a lot of LLM monitoring. We are doing LLM observability, where we are trying to find that when the LLM is hallucinating and trying to find fix before someone reports an issue. So that is really important. And yeah, I think that's it. Thanks a lot. Probably take some questions.
Thank you, Arkajit. Up next, we have Paris, founder at Lossfunk.
Hi everyone, my name is Paris and I'm founder of Lossfunk. So today I want to talk about how do you attempt to build an AI lab from India for the world. So I've been a mission to advance the state of AI research. So previously I was founder of a company called Wingify, and I recently exited Wingify. But even before Wingify, I was in love with AI. I was dabbling with neural networks, genetic algorithms 20 years back in Visual Basic 6.0. So AI has always fascinated me, and now after having sold my previous company, now I have the time and passion to dive deeper into AI. And I've been thinking, how do we advance the state of AI research in India? And my thesis is that frontier AI research requires three ingredients. One is the environment, which is the atmosphere. The second is a talent, and the third is compute. And the big question then is, how do you bring these things together at one place? And I think it's quite obvious that Indians all over the world are driving AI and tech forward. Attention is all you need, the paper that really kickstarted the transformer revolution that ultimately led to ChatGPT, OpenAI. 2 out of the 6 authors studied in India. Ashish was from BITS Mesra, and Nikki was from Pune Institute of Computer Technology. Interestingly, I don't know how many of you know, but PyTorch was co-created by, again, Somit, who studied at VIT, and TensorFlow was co-created by Manjunath, who, again, studied in PSG College. Again, both, and it's just not people who are Indian origin. These are folks who literally completed their education in India and then went ahead and wrote the attention paper and co-created the frameworks that we all end up using. And of course, I don't need to, again, repeat. It's just very, very obvious. Sundar Pichai, Satya Nadella, and lots of tech CEOs and tech founders in the Bay Area studied and grew up in India. But then why is this the case? I mean, it is just a very interesting dichotomy. At one hand, Indians have been at the forefront of AI research and technology, and at the other spectrum, I'm sure you know US and China, and perhaps China even more than the US, leading the game with such a wide margin that India is nowhere near the game also. This is a research done, I think in 2023, where India landed up at 14th position. And I was talking to a professor in ISC, and he was talking about in top conferences like CVPR, now there are 15,000 research papers that are submitted, and around just 100, 200 are from India. So a research contribution in top AI conferences like NeurIPS, ICML, CVPR is actually 0.1%. And it just baffles me, because if you think about, statistically speaking, the most populous nation in the world should be creating the most number of geniuses in the world. That's how just simply statistics happen. And I think to a large extent that's true. We are creating the most amount of geniuses out in the world who are inventing transformer architectures and creating PyTorch and so on. It's just that we're not doing that in India for some reason. And here is where I landed up after thinking about this problem for quite a bit. And I think the reason is that we lack institutions where talent finds its peers, but it's just not about creating institutions where talent can aggregate. I think it's also true that that talent should feel economically compensated as if they were in the West. Because it's very unfair for us to say that brain drain is happening and people are going to the US for their masters and so on. I think it's very fair for talent to migrate to places where they get most economically validated and socially validated. And right now in India, there are no institutions where they can feel economically or socially validated. So that's what I'm attempting to sort of trying to solve. I'm trying to create a new type of an AI lab, and that's what Lossfunk is about, where builders can aggregate, get inspired by each other, but then also end up making a significant amount of money for themselves by equity in the innovations they end up creating. So I think it's very difficult for any AI lab in India to compensate at the same level that DeepMind and OpenAI are doing. Their researchers very easily get up to $500K or $1 million per year. And of course, if you are, and they are of course able to compensate that because they've raised billions of dollars. Ilia's startup has raised, I think, $2 billion. Grok has raised $9 billion. So they can afford those salaries, but in India we can't. And but what we can do is we can encourage and build systems that aggregate that talent and then make them build things where their equity value becomes so much that this becomes a viable option for them to stay here and build from India, but for the world. So imagine Lossfunk or any other AI lab that wants to attempt fundamental research in India as like a Bell Labs for AI, where, I mean, if you know Bell Labs was a research arm of AT&T, and that's where so many Nobel Prize winning discoveries emerged. Transistor was invented there, radar was perfected there. What happened at Bell Labs, can we create something like that in India for the AI, is something I'm these days very passionate about. And I think this ultimately solves for compute also. Elon Musk's data center has 100,000 H100s. We cannot compete with that. How do you raise $1 billion to invest for the compute at a level that OpenAI's DeepMinds of the world are doing? The only solution I came about was, could you expand the equity value via innovations to such a degree that ultimately end up paying for itself? Because all other AI labs are connected to a cash cow. Llama is connected to Meta, DeepMind is connected to Google. But how do you bootstrap a fundamental AI lab is just super difficult task unless you're connected to a cash. Even DeepSeek is connected to a hedge fund. And but if you are able to, let's say, spin out fundamental research as startups or entities of commercial value, then the equity value in those startups themselves can ultimately feed back and start paying for all the compute and infrastructure that's needed for even further research. So that's my hypothesis. So this is, I'm really sort of kickstarting very soon, which I'm calling as Builder in Residence program. It's a 1-year full-time program where highly ambitious builders will dive into breakthrough AI research with an ultimate goal of spinning out a startup of their own. inspiration is, let's say, what happened at Stanford when Google was emerging. Before Google, there was PageRank. Google could not have been Google if PageRank didn't happen. So I think a lot of people, there is a fundamental dichotomy between research and startups. I have a strong feeling that these two can be combined to solve very hard problems, where you're not just pushing the science forward, but ultimately you're creating more funding avenues by making sure that research is applied to the real world as well. But except for 5-6 years that takes for a PhD, it's like a speed running PhD intensity in 1 year. I mean, since the AI timelines are accelerating so fast, my thesis is that if there is a person who wants to pursue very deep technical problem solving, instead of going directly for a PhD and spending 6 years, how about you take 1 year and solve something very, very difficult in 1 year? So I'm trying to create a very insane level of optionality for builders. So if you're a really smart builder, you obviously have a few options. You can go for a PhD, you can get a job, you can do a startup of your own. But I'm trying to see how do you bring together the best of all worlds and combine it to a package where it becomes just like a no-brainer for a really smart builder to do it. So if you spend 1 year, not just you end up solving very interesting technical problems and pushing the research and science forward, but you ultimately end up having more than, let's say, 90% equity in your own startup and the funding along with that. So at Lossfunk, we want to pursue what you can call at high technical risk, low demand risk. You can think of startups as either attacking market risk, where you're working with the known technology, known frameworks, known LLMs, known technology, but you say whether the market for this exists or not. But at the other spectrum, you have what you say, I know for sure if I'm able to crack this, there is a market for it. An example for this would be, let's say you attempt a problem, can I bring down the cost of voice agents by 100x? Today, if 11 labs cost you X amount of money, could you provide the same amount of quality at 100x cheaper manner? And similarly, if you are able to, so the whole question then becomes, instead of trying to do product market fit, whether there is a demand for it or not, you see where is the demand and how can you technically solve a very difficult problem. It's almost like trying to solve a fusion, right? Where you know if you're able to solve fusion, there's definitely a demand for it. So the question is, can you come up with project ideas where you confidently say, when a project works, it should change the world? If that's a problem statement you're attracted with, I think Lossfunk is the place to be. And this model works, so it's not similarly I'm coming up with out of my hat. I highly encourage you to see this video by actually Sam Altman on the YC Startup School, where he says, in many ways it's easier to start a hard company than an easy company. Because if the market risk is minimal, if you are attacking a hard problem and you're saying that I solve this hard problem and I have a market, then the entire scientific risk can be front-loaded and de-risked via prototypes. And those prototypes can be very cheap. Have this in contrast with so many startups that come along and most of them end up failing because you really don't even know whether the market for it exists or not. So why not start and flip the model where you say, I know if I'm able to solve this, the market definitely exists. But the solving is the tough part. But that's also the exciting part that will push India forward in the research and development phase. And similarly, there is another really interesting lab in Berkeley AI group. This is a professor called Ian Stoica. And this professor is founder of 4 unicorn companies. I love this example so much because people think either you can make a lot of money or you can do research. This is a person who's an active professor, but also a founder of companies you may have known about, like Databricks and Anyscale. And from their lab, VLLM, all of you must be using VLLM, most of you. It came out of their lab. LMSys and Chat Arena that you use to rank chatbots, it came from there. SGLang, it came from their lab. And Apache Spark, Ray. So they not just pushed this technology and research forward, but they also ended up making a lot of money for themselves, which is the motivation for the talent. And similarly, venture builder called Flagship Pioneering. I'm not sure how many of you have heard, but this is a company that actually spun off Moderna, the company which introduced mRNA vaccines in the world. And they employ 100 PhDs and they spin out 4 or 5 companies each year. And this is a model I absolutely love, where you push science so much, research so much, yet you end up building companies with hundreds of billions of dollars of valuation. And another MIT professor, Robert Langer, he's called the Edison of medicine. His lab has given risen to 40 companies, and collectively they have an estimated market value of $23 billion. And like I said, it's a myth where you say, can I push the science forward or can I apply? This quadrant that you see in the screen is called Pasteur quadrant, where if you see the 2x2 on one grid, you have whether what you're doing has an application or a use case. On the other quadrant, you have whether you're pushing the science or knowledge forward. So Louis Pasteur, when he was tasked to improve fermentation process for wine and beer, in the process of doing that, he invented the whole field of microbiology. So imagine you're not just making wine and beer better, but you also invented the whole field of microbiology. So it is possible for you to push scientific understanding forward while also solving real-world use cases. These are not always orthogonal or in sort of contrast to each other. So, I mean, just very quick, I think I'm the right guy to do this. I've seen $0 to $50 million journey of my company and then selling to private equity. But I also am an active programmer. I coded transformers in PyTorch myself because I wanted to understand how it works under the hood. So, and I'm also passionate about AI from a very long period of time. So this is what and I thought instead of me trying to build a company myself now, how can I build like 100 more companies come from India for the world, which are highly, highly technical. So that's what I'm doing right now. This is the Builder in Builder program, 1-year program. And for 1 year, it's a very equity-free grant so that if a builder joins, they never have to dip into the savings. Within 4 or 5 months of exploration, along with a lot of equally talented builders, the idea is that you'll get a pre-seed funding of 125K for 7%, which is almost like YC, except for the safe note that they give 375K and the connects with investor network. So the point is, this is for 1 year, you're pushing the science and research forward along with equally talented, inspired folks, but with an intent of spinning out a startup at the end instead of just publishing a paper and moving on. So that's it. I think if you have any questions, happy to answer, or maybe I can answer them later. Thank you.
Thank you, Paris. That was amazing. Up next, we have Soham, founder at Composio.
Hey, hi folks. I'm Soham, founder of Composio. Great to be here and sort of speaking to you all. Yeah, so let me start off, right? So Composio is an agent-tech integration platform. We kind of try to solve for agent-to-agent communication problem. Think about it this way, like in future, if there are going to be a lot of LLM applications and a lot of agents out there that are going to be doing some very interesting kind of work, how do you make sure that they communicate in a very reliable, very sort of nice manner? And how do you make it like super sort of easy for developers to sort of build those kind of systems, right? I came today to sort of talk about MCP, which has been kind of sort of really buzzy out there. We ended up launching something pretty cool, which was MCP sort of support for Composio, and it went sort of pretty viral. So I wanted to just show you a quick sort of what we have been built and like talk to you more about like what MCP is, because I saw a lot of folks sort of discussing and debating on that, and happy to answer questions around it. Yeah, so think about it this way. When you talk about like deterministic software and like the older softwares out there, and you talk about APIs, what you realize is that for anything out there that you want to integrate as a developer, you end up sort of reading specs, you do a bunch of work, you end up sort of connecting the systems, right? And it takes a lot of effort for you to get something live off the ground and get something working. What we ended up launching was a sort of way for any client out there that supports MCP protocol in a way to quickly sort of get integrated with any system out there, a bunch of different sort of applications, and do stuff around with it. I just wanted to quickly show you a demo, and then we can sort of get into the technical side of it. But like, if are people familiar here with Cursor by any chance? Okay, awesome. So this is a quick demo on like how you can sort of use Composio along with Cursor. The idea is very simple. I'm inside Cursor, I'm coding. I don't want to sort of look at linear or any other application. I want my agent to sort of go and figure this out. And so the idea is that I simply add a server through Composio. It's a single sort of URL that allows Cursor to sort of interact with linear via the MCP and sort of do a bunch of different stuff on top of Cursor, on top of linear. And so here I'm just asking a very simple sort of question, which is, can you summarize issue X? And if demo gods are with us, I think we'll be able to sort of get it working. I think it's doing something, but it's trying to basically call a tool. The tool is get an issue, right? It's basically fetching some data from linear. It's getting that data, it's putting that data out, and it's basically showing out that, hey, here's a bug, here's a ticket, right? This is a problem that like sort of a customer was facing, and can we do something about it, right? And that's like the short end of it, essentially, if you think about it. MCP allows a bunch of different sort of applications to connect with a bunch of sort of different LLMs or a bunch of different things in a very nice, easy manner. I'll get more into it. But you can interact in the same way to Twitter, to a bunch of different applications very, very nicely. I'll quickly get into, so I have 10 minutes, I'll quickly get into what MCP is and answer like the top high-level sort of questions, and then feel free to sort of jump and ask me questions later on. So I think most of you folks here would be familiar with function calling. So giving you a like high-level summary, LLMs kind of interact with the world via multiple different ways, but one of the primary ways they started sort of doing that was with something called function calling or tool calling. So you have an LLM. LLM is basically a chat-in, chat-out machine, right? But you want LLM to interact with the world, figure out like, hey, what's the weather today in New York, right? How do you do that? So one of the ways they can do that is you do something called function calling. It basically generates structured JSON data. It uses that structured data to sort of call or execute something out there and get some response, and then use that response back to essentially end up using that information in whatever sort of way it was needed. Now comes MCP. What MCP does is, MCP is trying to sort of solve for this M cross N problem of like, hey, there are M tools out there that basically all want to sort of interact with different kinds of systems out there. And how do you sort of make it super, super easy so that it's almost like very quick if I want to sort of interact one agentic system to another sort of agentic system or another sort of application out there. It's a super sort of nice open standard that allows any LLM client to fetch information, be it through sort of tool calling, be it through some resources like files and stuff, or be it through like actual literal prompts from a server out there. So that, think about it this way, I can basically get my sort of cursor to interact with Twitter in a very easy, nice fashion, right? The way sort of to think about it would be, MCP essentially allows you to do three things. So if you understand function calling, it's built on top of it in part ways, but it essentially allows you to call different tools, it allows you to fetch different prompts, and it allows you to sort of tap into different data sources or resources, and it essentially allows in a very standard sort of unifying way to connect with any different MCP client out there and essentially get all of this information and execute all of this stuff. So the advantage to this is like when Composio ended up sort of launching MCP, any client out there that supported that protocol could directly get plugged into it. Any server out there sort of that wanted to add like basically get connected through all of this could come into Composio sort of MCP registry and get embedded inside and can sort of use this. A lot of confusion existed between like MCP and sort of API and like why they're sort of different. Like one easy way I think about it is when you talk about sort of open API or like API specs out there, there's no actual like really good way to essentially, whenever the API is updated or whenever sort of there's a change in the pattern that you want to use the API. So an example could be there's an API that takes sort of phone number and email, and now it takes like 3 parameters like phone number, name, and address, right? And like you want to change this sort of pattern, so you have to change the code that consumes this pattern. But with MCP, the advantage is that the sort of pattern on how the API could be consumed or how the tool could be consumed is broadcasted across, and so there's no actual sort of work required whenever a change like this is made, and it can be directly consumed by the client itself, and like it basically makes it super easy for like any API like Twitter to keep changing, but still the support equally being there. And that's like probably one really nice way to think about it. There are like a bunch of different sort of fundamental differences around how sort of you can think about OpenAPI and MCP, but yeah, that's like one really cool thing you can sort of get into. The other really interesting thing I wanted to just talk about and touch upon was like a lot of sort of discussion is around just like, okay, how MCP is the new protocol and stuff like that. But there are a lot of like different ways out there. People are sort of using different mechanisms to sort of get LLM to interact with the world. One of the really cool ways sort of, which I'm very bullish on is like if you think about like this is, by the way, if most of you folks know Menace AI that recently ended up launching, the founder of the sort of company, and talking about like how they don't use MCP, but they use something like code generation, and using code generation to do function calling under the hood in a very nice sort of manner. And this is something a lot of folks have been sort of also using about. Like one company that does something similar to that is Luthra AI, a bunch of other sort of research papers around it also exist. And so this is like one way people do it. There are like multiple other ways out there that like people have been sort of testing and like trying out different sort of ways LLM can interact with sort of the world outside, and LLM can do like function calling and different sort of like ways by which they can sort of interact with the data and like extract the data. But yeah, wanted to like sort of point out around like how sort of MCP is not the only way, but like there are a bunch of other ways out there. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you, Soham. Now we have Vicky, Startups and SMB Growth at Stripe, and Douglas, AE at Stripe.
Am I in the spotlight okay? Yeah? All right, if I venture and creep into the dark abyss over here, just give me a shout. Yeah, I need to come back into the spotlight, we were told earlier. But first of all, I just wanted to say thank you to the whole Magicball AI organizing team and all the partners. It's a real privilege for us at Stripe to be here today. So thank you very much for having us. If you can just go to the next slide. I'm Vicky and this is Doug. We're from the APAC go-to-market team at Stripe based in Singapore. And we're going to cover 4 broad topics. The first is we're going to talk about some trends that we're seeing in AI from a Stripe perspective that we hope are useful and interesting to all of you building AI companies. The second is we've started to develop some real knowledge and insight and experience on how AI companies are building their businesses, and we'll share back some of our best practices and learnings there and some experience there as well. Doug will take you through a quick demo of our billing solution, and then we'll end with some kind of looking ahead type thoughts as well. For those of you who don't know Stripe yet, hopefully most of you are familiar, we're a financial infrastructure company for the internet. We're most known for payments and global money movement. And we have our team from Singapore here as well. If you have any questions, we'd love to hear from you in our booth just outside as well. Okay, so let me start by talking a little bit about Stripe in India. Stripe is deeply committed to building in India and for India. We actually have a very large office here in Bangalore. It's, I think, our second or third largest office globally. It's larger than our Singapore office. And it's focused mostly on product and engineering. But of course, we want to serve Indian businesses more and more. We're currently in invite-only mode, and we have been in that mode since January. But we're actually the team that supports those merchants, those customers, those businesses. So if any of you are looking to build a company in India and set up a Stripe account, of course, do reach out to us. Over time, we hope we can scale and expand our product offering for Indian merchants as well. Yeah, that remains a hope that we hope realizes pretty soon. But let me start by talking about a few trends. So just a week or so ago, our founders published our annual Stripe letter. If you haven't read it yet, I'm going to share a couple of thoughts from there. If you know anybody at Stripe and they're on your LinkedIn, you've definitely seen them linked to this letter because pretty much everybody at Stripe has been sharing this over the last few days. But what I wanted to highlight was how big AI featured and AI companies featured as part of our annual letter. And this chart here, which I thought was really interesting, looks at two things. The red line is SaaS companies that use, the top 100 SaaS companies that use Stripe in 2018, and the blue line is the top 100 AI companies that have used Stripe. And what you see here is the SaaS companies took just about 3 years to reach a very impressive milestone of $5 million in ARR, but the AI companies have actually done that in 2 years. So the velocity around AI and the business of AI is clearly scaling and clearly accelerating. And yeah, here are some companies that use us for this. I wanted to share this stat. This is also a Stripe data point, and I'd love to ask if any of you know what this might be. It's about Stripe data point related to AI. Any thoughts on what it might be? Number of companies that we've AI companies, very close. Really good guess. You read the annual letter, I think, last week. You have friends at Stripe, I'm sure. Aggregate revenue, $700? No, definitely more than $700. We would be flying here if it was only $700. Okay, she was very close. It's actually the number of agentic AI companies that Stripe has onboarded in 2024. And very early in 2025, we are on track to absolutely demolish that number. So again, this is another trend that, again, I've heard of, from a few of you. You're building companies that are essentially AI agents. This is a growing trend that we're seeing, and yeah, Stripe is trying to support as well. Okay, now let me switch gears and go straight into the business of AI before I hand over to Doug. Okay, we were here in September last year, and we talked a lot about pricing strategy and how Stripe's services can help you to implement various pricing strategies. So I just wanted to remind you of some of these key messages because they still exist today. The first is around how founders often admit that they guess how they should price their product. It's a pretty complex problem to solve, but they're often guessing. And then the second one is they don't even think about pricing. 1 in 2 don't even think about pricing till the product is launched. So again, those are two insights that we think should help you understand how to think about your company going forward and think about pricing, hopefully at an earlier stage. But moving on to the next slide, the takeaways are this. One is actually pricing is very iterative. There's no right or wrong answer. You just have to try it and you have to keep iterating. The second one is pricing is an incredible strategic lever for you all. Whether it's about entering new markets, targeting new segments, or just boosting growth, pricing is an incredibly important strategic lever. And the third one is it's really important to have a solution in place that enables you to scale pricing and financial infrastructure as well. A little bit of a Stripe pitch here. These are the companies, the many companies that use Stripe to solve all of those problems I discussed earlier. We'll quickly move along. I'm sure you're familiar with most of those. And before I hand over to Doug, just the way I look at it is, if I think about companies that make planes, they don't actually make the engine. They spend all of their time figuring out how to get the plane to lift off, stay in flight, and then safely land. The engines are actually handled by other companies. That's how I think about Stripe's financial infrastructure solutions. You guys are building the AI companies that will hopefully create incredible value. Maybe we can help you with the boring financial stuff. All right, over to Doug.
Thank you, Vicky. So before I move on, one of those engines we're talking about is actually Stripe Billing, which is the main focus of what I'll be discussing today. And before we dive into how Stripe is exactly helping AI companies, let's take a step back to understand what are some of the common challenges that tech companies, AI companies, and SaaS companies actually experience. So if you've recently spoken to a finance leader, you probably get feedback from them that they actually struggle to even sustain a very simple billing model for their end customers using the legacy systems and accounting software. Right. So what they typically do is that they have to get a point solution for each one of these different processes that you see here, from billing to payments to tax, and then cobble them together and hope that it works. And if it works in a single workflow, they actually have to dedicate a lot of time and effort to make sure that they can maintain it, and actually they're very susceptible to breakages and leakages. And actually that's a gap that Stripe fills. Stripe comes in, and we basically integrate all these different workflows together into a single solution that runs on a standardized API, standardized SLA, and customer support, so that AI businesses and SaaS businesses can actually run, track, and monitor the business as they grow. So let's take a look under the hood. I'm not going to go through every single point here, obviously, but I do want to put a little bit, I do want to cast a bit of a spotlight on some of the features and workflows that Stripe actually support. If you look across here, some of you might actually notice that this is part of the quote-to-cash process, where you actually send a quote or invoice to a customer and ultimately collect payments from them. Starting from the left-hand side, you can see that Stripe gives you the capabilities to create one-off or recurring invoices for customers, and then provide them with a whole array of payment methods they can choose from based on their own preferences and make the payment. And after that, it also gives you the tools to manage your accounts receivables through a suite of very robust revenue recovery tools that actually send automated reminders to your customers if they're not paying. And on top of that, if you wish, you could actually use Stripe Tax to automatically calculate and collect tax on behalf of your customer. And all this is all sitting on a single dashboard that eventually provides you automated reporting that your business and finance leaders can use to understand the health of their business. Now, going back to what Vicky mentioned about pricing, I think Stripe's goal here is to provide you the tools and unlock the benefits that I just discussed, irregardless of the type of pricing model that your AI company wants to use, right? And one such pricing model that is typically very popular in the market, particularly with AI businesses, is usage-based pricing. And what we're seeing is that customers are actually a lot more receptive to usage-based pricing, and it demonstrates the value a lot better to the end consumer. And for early adopters of usage-based pricing, it's actually paid off for them. You can see a 38% higher forecasted year-on-year revenue for companies that use, AI companies that use usage-based pricing. A couple of examples here. I'm sure most people would recognize Intercom and InVideo. Both are actually Stripe users on our Stripe billing solution, but we actually solve different problems for them. For Intercom, they were actually on a legacy billing system previously that couldn't offer them usage-based pricing. Using Stripe, they actually could unlock it, and currently, if you go to the website today, you can see a wide selection of different products and services that they offer with different types of pricing model, from flat rate to usage-based to seat-based pricing. If you look across at InVideo, their problem is a bit different. When they tried to go global and expand overseas, they realized that their subscription tool was actually working, but a lot of payments were actually failing. So that means they were not recognizing the revenue that they hoped to recognize. And where Stripe came in is that we provided them the revenue recovery tools that I mentioned earlier today to help them recover their revenue, and they saw an increase in 30% of those subscriptions coming back as revenue to their business. So I talked a little bit around the features about Stripe billing, but I think the best way to to show you is to give you a demo, right? So this is going to be a little bit interesting this time because I want you to take the perspective of your end user and not from your business. And the other reason is also a bit more interesting is because we couldn't get the recording to work, so I'm going to have to do a voiceover. I hope you don't mind. Okay, so
How's your Hindi?
My Hindi is not really good, so you're going to have to deal with my English here. I hope you don't mind. Okay, so today I'm going to be demoing Laura AI, which is a fictitious AI company. And here they actually offer their end users 4 different types of plans that they can choose from. From the left-hand side, there's a Plus plan, which is a flat rate billing plan, the Pro plan, which is a flat rate billing plan with a free tier of usage, and after which they'll be charged overages. And then there's a team plan, which is a seat-based plan, and finally an enterprise plan, which is a customizable plan with a contact sales workflow. And here you'll see how easy it is for your end user to create and sign up for a plan. In this case, they've chosen the Plus plan. Once they click on it, they can actually choose between monthly or yearly billing. And already the payment details are pre-populated because they've created an account. And once they click proceed, within a few seconds, you actually see that the Plus plan has already been created. And here, once you have gone to the landing page, they'll also have the ability to adjust and change the different types of payment methods that they prefer, download invoices, or even cancel the plan, right? So it's as simple as that. So think about how much time and effort you're spending to build a seamless AI service, you also want a billing engine that's going to be keeping up with that pace for you. Okay, now I talked a lot about usage-based billing earlier. So now I'm going to show you an example of a usage-based billing paired with seat-based billing example. So in this case, we're going to use the team model. Similarly, you go to a similar landing page where you can choose the team size, and again, key in the payment details. And once you click proceed, you'll be redirected to a very similar page. But on this page, you're going to be seeing some features that are unique to usage-based pricing plans. Let's give it a short moment. And here, once the plan is already active, your user can actually go in and modify the number of active members in the team, assuming that the team has grown, and immediately the next billing cycle, the charges will be updated for you. And below that, you can actually use it to monitor the actual current usage for your customer, for themselves, and how much they'll be charged. And if you click on the right-hand side, you can actually see a simulation page where your end user can simulate how they'll be charged based on the actual consumption of the service. In this case, they're going to be charged based on the number of tags that they use, and typically there's going to be a bit of delay because the meter usage would typically take some time to integrate back. An example here, for instance, you can your user type in some text, and once they click submit, the amount of usage will then be captured back onto the current usage page, and they'll know how much they'll be paying. The one last feature I want to cover with you as well that's very popular with AI companies is credit grants, meaning AI companies allow the customers to pre-purchase a certain entitlement of credits that they can use. So again, going back to a similar page, you can see the purchase API credits option. Once you click into it, your user can pre-purchase the number of credits that they want, and this amount will then be offset against the next invoice and the usage that they're actually going to be using for that month, right? So yeah, actually that's all for the demo. I hope you found that insightful. I think it'll be interesting to see how you're going to be building your own pricing page and pricing table for your AI company. I'll hand it over to Vicky to close us off.
All right, I'm just going to wrap up. But thank you, Doug, for sharing that. As you see, it's a very seamless experience for end users, and actually building it, there's a no-code solution, but of course you can use the API and go super complex on it as well. I'll just wrap up with 3 key themes. When it comes to how we as an APAC team are thinking about AI and how we can serve companies like you, founders like all of you. The first is we want to start to understand more about the AI agent use cases, and we want to enable those more and more. So hopefully what Doug shared earlier resonates, but if there are other things that you're looking for, please do let us know. We're here, and do reach out to us. The second one is, as a company, globally, we're building deeper and deeper functionality to serve AI companies and the various different use cases and business models that they're developing. And of course, I think a bunch of folks mentioned this earlier, India is absolutely at the forefront of that, and I think at Stripe, globally, we recognize that. So we're getting a lot of support to come here and invest time in being part of these kinds of communities. And the last one, this is what we do. It's all about cross-border. Many of you are building your AI services and solutions for global markets. As I said, Stripe is a global payments and money movement services company. Of course, we are able to help you with all of that. But with that, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Please do reach out to us in the booth afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was an amazing lineup. Let's give our speakers one more big round of applause for their amazing work. Now it's time for the live product demos. 5 AI startups, 10 minutes each. These founders aren't just talking about the future, they're building it. So let's get started. First up, we have Sayoni, founder of GenFuse.
Hi everyone, I'm Shayani. We are a team of ex-Google engineers and we are currently building GenFuse AI. GenFuse AI lets you create custom AI agents to automate work, and you do not need any technical skills to create these agents. So everybody here is talking about AI agents, but what's so special about AI agents? So in one line, AI agents can now do work that previously only humans could do. So if you're a business, you can now use AI agents to increase your efficiency without increasing your headcount. So let me explain with an example. Company research. So this is an incredibly common use case. So let's say you want to do 3 things. You want to summarize the website of a company, you want to find and summarize their LinkedIn, and you want to summarize the recent news about that company, and you want to create a report. Now, if you try to do that with existing tools, you will face 3 major issues. The first thing, the existing tools only work for linear workflows. So what do I mean by linear? They expect the same set of steps to be executed in the same order every single time. So Google search Novatech website, extract the first URL from Google and scrape it. But what if there are 2 companies with the same name? In that case, your workflow would break. The second problem is that the non-agentic tools in the market are extremely complex. So I'm sure most of you are familiar with make.com. So this is a standard make.com screenshot. So you can see all these screenshots with hundreds of nodes doing really complex stuff. So the problem is that even if you create these workflows, maintaining them is extremely difficult. If anything goes wrong, your workflow breaks. And the third problem is that most of the agentic automation tools in the market cater to technical users. So you either have to be technical yourself, or you need to have a dev team to create these automations for you. So if you're a sales leader or a product manager or a marketing leader, you cannot create the automations, and you need to rely on developers. So these are the 3 main problems that we are trying to solve with GenFuse AI. So this is going back to the example. So this is a competitor of ours that's doing really well. So they are non-agentic. So this is the same workflow. I'm not sure if you can see it. I'll try to zoom it and show you. So this has 3 major parts. First, it takes a company name and company website as input. And then there's a path that uses Google search to find the LinkedIn URL of the company. Then it uses a LinkedIn scraper tool to scrape it. Finally, we have another path to scrape their website. And there's the third path that finds recent articles from Google. And finally, we have an AI that combines all this information. So this is 15 nodes to automate this simple task. Now, this is the same workflow with GenFuse AI. So you need just 5 nodes. And I will walk you through creating this workflow with GenFuse. So to reiterate, so the 3 main problems that we are trying to solve with GenFuse is that GenFuse AI is completely agentic. You do not need to configure every single step of every single task. So if the company you're looking for, there are 2 companies with the same name, the agent can figure out how to circumvent that and how to complete the task. Second, our workflows are extremely easy to create and manage. And third, you do not need any technical skills. So you do not need to rely on the dev team to create these automations for you. So I'll give you a demo. So we'll go to the dashboard. So our product has 2 main components. The first is agents. So to create an agent, you can start from scratch, or you can use one of the templates that we have. I'll start from scratch. So we have a very cool create with AI feature. You can just describe what you want the agent to do in natural language, and it will create the agent. So here I've given it a prompt, take a company name, scrape the company website, and use Google search to find the LinkedIn page of the company and summarize the LinkedIn page. So it's building the agent. So the agent is ready. I'll accept it. I'll quickly run it. So I'll save it first. Okay. So let's give it a company name. Let's say GenFuse AI. And let's give it the company website, genfuseai.com. So while it is running, I can show you how it is configured. So it has a few basic properties. This agent expects you to provide the company name and website as input. And there's an expected output, so you can configure it and customize it based on your requirements. The agent has access to 3 tools here. One is the scrape website tool, Google search, and you'll get LinkedIn company data. So based on the task and the tools, the agent can figure out how to complete that task and use those tools. We also have a bunch of other tools that you can use. Finally, there's the LLM that is powering this agent. So this is powered by GPT, but we integrate with all the major LLM providers, and you can use them based on your requirements. So it has completed execution. You can see that it generated a report for me. And you can also see the steps the agent took. So it scraped the website, it performed Google search, it used the LinkedIn tool to get details from my LinkedIn page as well. So this is the first part. This is agents. So you can create any kind of agents you want based on your specific custom requirements. The second part is pipelines. So this is where the main power of GenFuse AI comes into play, because here you can combine multiple AI agents and tools to create very powerful automations, and these automations can remain extremely simple at the same time. So here I have this automation. So it accepts the company name and website as input. So you can either run it manually, you can schedule it to run at specific intervals, you can also trigger it. For example, when you receive an email, then the workflow runs automatically. Then we have this research agent that we created earlier. Finally, we have used a tool here to find the recent news about the company on Google. You can also use an agent here if you want. And there's another agent that combines all this information to create that report for me and writes it to a Google Doc. So I've already run it, I think, yeah. So you can see that it was able to create an executive report on HubSpot with all the details about the company, services offered, recent news, LinkedIn followers, everything. And you can customize it based on your requirements. So I'll quickly show you. We have a lot of integrations as well that you can use. So you can directly use them as tools, or you can provide them to agents. So our vision at GenFuse AI is very simple, that every business and every individual is unique. So you should not need to change your existing workflows and processes to fit the AI tool. Rather, the AI tool should integrate seamlessly in your existing workflows. That's why every agent and pipeline in GenFuse AI is fully customizable. At the same time, we integrate with all the tools from your database, email, CRM, everything, and also your internal tools. And the third point is that you do not need to learn coding or rely on developers to use our platform. So GenFuse AI is free to get started. So you can just go to genfuseai.com, create a free account, and start automating. And I'll be at the booth if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Up next, we have Abhishek, founder at SafeDep.
Hey everyone, I'm Abhishek, founder at SafeDep. I am also the creator and maintainer of a free and open source security tool called VET, which I will demonstrate today. But before that, I want to start with a question. Do you use open source code in your application? Anyone? It's really a trick question. Everyone uses it. Like, we also extensively depend on open source code in building VET or anything else that we build. What if I tell you unvetted use of open source code in your application can get you hacked? Not just your developer machine, maybe it's your CI/CD as well as production infrastructure. Now, how so? Let's say you install a very popular open source package, Express.js. If you're using a TypeScript or a node-based application, I'm sure you have used Express, right? Probably the most popular framework for building applications. You may think that you are installing one single open source package, which is very popular with a very strong community support, highly matured development, so you can trust it. Definitely. I would trust Express as well. But in reality, when you are installing a single NPM package such as Express, you are not actually installing a single one, but you are installing a whole lot of other packages with code from various open source projects coming into your application, in your laptop, in your application, When you build it in your CI, as part of your CI, it gets built there and finally gets deployed into your environment, right? Now, if you are trusting, say, Express, you are probably trusting because there are a lot of people who are reviewing the code which is getting into Express.js project, right? Same goes for your internal application. If you have a fairly matured SDLC, you would probably have at least 1 or 2 code reviewers before something gets merged into your main branch and gets deployed. But did you code review these, like all this open source code that is coming into your application? I mean, really, you may say that Dependabot is there, SCA tools are there, vulnerabilities and all these things, right? What if one of the maintainers of any of these packages turned malicious and wants to intentionally ship malicious code as part of their package, right? Or even better, actually not better, even worse, if one of the maintainers gets compromised and someone else publishes a new version of package with malicious code in it. For example, we have been seeing massive amount of malicious NPM packages with a very common pattern such as pre-install node index.js, which means when you do npm install x, if it has a pre-install script configured, then that script will be executed as part of your laptop or whenever you do npm install, right? So what it means is that the number of incidents leading to security breaches because of dependency on open source is shifting from vulnerability to malicious code. The number of malicious open source packages are increasing tremendously, which is why we built VET, which is a free and open source tool. It protects software development teams against the problem of malicious code coming from open sources by actually analyzing the code using an LLM augmented code analysis engine. Not only LLM, we actually built a static code analysis engine which is augmented using LLMs because they are just that very good at understanding and reasoning on code, right? So yeah, we'll probably switch to a demo before I talk about more on how VET works. So VET is a CLI tool which you can run in your own laptop. Like in this case, I'm scanning a specific npm package called nycconfig. This is a malicious package which we detected yesterday, which was targeting another very popular open source npm package called nyc with almost 25 million downloads. We quickly reported this to npm as well as to public malicious databases. So hopefully this will be taken care of. So with VET, you can actually perform code analysis and identify these kind of packages. You can also perform inspection on the code of a on a package and actually see that is it safe. If it is safe, why it is safe? Is it malicious? If it is classified as malicious, why it is classified as malicious, right? In this case, if you see, we are telling you exactly that through code analysis, we saw hard-coded IP addresses where the package was sending system information. You will also see that this particular package was classified as malware, malicious, not just based on a single pattern match or anything. Instead, we actually collect a lot of evidences through conventional code analysis and using LLMs, and finally reason using an LLM within the context of that library. What I mean is that code is code. It may be malicious in a context, it may not be malicious in a context. Think about it. Say, for example, we have a cryptographic library. It is supposed to do compute-heavy operations, right? And suddenly, in one new version of that library, you see there is some code which is connecting to some unknown IP address and sending some data. That is a malicious behavior in the context of that library, right? But then, say you have LangChain SDK or OpenAI SDK, which is meant to connect to external sources. which is why the problem of identifying malicious code or malicious intent is hard. You can't have static code rules or code signatures or a conventional, static code analysis approach. You have to capture the context, identify that whether in this context does this behavior appears to be malicious. And that is exactly what we do in order to classify or identify malicious code on these various open source libraries. But we believe the best of the security tools are invisible. You would mostly not be running wet manually. It's just not possible, right? You will not be manually running scans on every single open source package that you want to use, which is why we built this GitHub action, which directly integrates with your GitHub. Like if you put this GitHub action, it will check every single pull request, what has changed. If anything has changed, it will perform automated vetting and analyzing the code of the open source package which is getting into your software, right? In this case, it has found one particular malicious package and it has failed this particular PR. So if you want to protect against malicious code, you can just put vet action, which is basically a GitHub action for vet, as part of your CI, and it will protect you against malicious packages coming in. Even better, say you don't want to manually do this integration. We built a community portal called vetpkg.dev/gha, where you can just enter the GitHub URL of your, say, some open source project where you want to try out, and we will just automatically raise a pull request for you. So that's the easiest way of integrating vet as part of your CI/CD pipeline, which would ensure that any code that is coming from open sources into your application is actually analyzed, and anything malicious is identified and blocked at CI level. And yeah, this is the example. This is this package that we found yesterday. This is a malicious package with decent impact. We reported it to OSV, which is the most highly maintained and most popular vulnerability and malicious package database maintained by Google. So our contribution was accepted, and they credited us for this discovery. And in fact, we have been analyzing every single NPM package which is published in NPM PyPy and Go modules, which is published, and continuously analyzing and identifying malicious packages. Whatever we find, we report it to the appropriate vendors and try to get it removed from public registries. That's about it. Thank you so much. And VET is free and open source. It's free to get started. If you want to talk and learn more about what we do with code analysis side of things, I'm here. Please come talk to me.
Thank you, Abhishek. Before proceeding, I have a small announcement to make. If you have a seat available next to you, kindly raise your hands because there are a few people standing by the stairs. You can take the seats available. Thank you. Okay. Proceeding forward, we now have Shubh, founder of Raccoon AI, presenting.
Hey folks, so have you guys ever noticed like how every website is completely different? Whether it's booking a flight, or maybe you're ordering food, or maybe some SaaS dashboards, maybe some AI dashboards. Every site has a different layout, different flows, different buttons that you have to interact with. For us humans, it's just annoying, but we subconsciously learn like how to navigate through those flows. But when you talk about automation, it's a complete disaster. Traditional automations tries to click buttons based on their class names, based on their selectors, but a moment something changes, the site developer changes the position of the button, maybe the class of the button, your automation script totally breaks and you have basically you have to redo the whole thing again. Now try generalizing it for a number of sites. You are like super cooked. For us humans, we are intelligent, at least we think we are. So we adapt to these changes to the websites and we learn these new flows. We think that these are made just for making our experience better. But what about automations? What about these automation scripts that you write? What if automation scripts could adapt themselves, could understand themselves like that, yeah, this site has changed, I have to navigate through it through a different flow, and maybe automatically like do all of the stuff that you do daily, all the mundane, all the redundant work for you on your behalf. So this is exactly what we are building at Raccoon AI, an AI that can adapt to these different dynamic nature of the modern web and basically make it easy for you to automate stuff that you have been wanting to automate since a long time. Maybe it is just opening AWS daily, navigating to different services by clicking those 5-6 buttons, or maybe it's like a large scale job of filling out, let's say, 1,000 forms about something. So we are an AI that runs, extracts, and acts across the web. We have built a complete developer-focused ecosystem that helps you take actions on behalf of yourself and your users across the internet. So this was like one thing that you can do with Raccoon AI, but as I mentioned, it's a complete ecosystem. So you can also extract structured data as maybe detailed reports or as huge multi-level JSON schemas from any website around on the internet. You can control cloud browsers. So if you want more control, if you want to write your own automation script still, you'll still need some place to run them. You'll still need a cloud browser, maybe a browser that is optimized for this AI stuff, available somewhere in the cloud where you can run it. So we also provide that. You can write your own automation scripts and just put them in the cloud browsers that are running in a cloud. You can also link any app with a OAuth-like flow so that basically if you want to do authenticated actions, if you want to complete a purchase on Amazon, you'll need actually the authentication credentials of the user for which you are making that call, and asking them directly for credentials doesn't make a lot of sense. So for that, you can actually use our Tail SDK, and just with a few lines of code, you can have an OAuth-like flow for any app across the internet. You just pass it the app name. And the user's account will be linked. It can actually also help you do some personal stuff, just like extracting summary of something from Hacker News and making a post about it on Twitter, or maybe just do a deep search on something. So I'll quickly play a demo video where it'll be filling a Google form with all of the details that I've provided to it. So I've provided that my name is Aviral Agarwal, my email is this and that. Please fill this job application form for me. So it is currently now filling in all the details as I suggested, and then it is basically filling out the cover letter, which is something I didn't provide to it. So yeah, it'll go ahead and submit it. So this seems simple, but think of it as you're applying for jobs and you want to find relevant jobs that are out there for you based on your candidature, and then doing it at scale. Maybe apply to 1,000 jobs, 1,500 jobs. Maybe you're a business who are basically daily pulling in records of your bills and all from handwritten bills from your ledger, and then you are filling them out in some electronic billing systems. You can automate all of that with this simple API. It can be used as an API. You can just pass it the query. You can just dump your data, and it will just go ahead and do exactly what you want. The second demo is basically it performing a deep search. So I just ask it, hey, research on small language models. Tell me if they are relevant in 2025. I asked it to look into research papers and all. So as you can see, it is opening up multiple tabs right now. It is going through all of the sources that it can find about it on the web. So it is a web-grounded deep search. Like it is reading actual research paper, actual articles that are out there. It is just not giving it your opinion like most of the other LLMs and all. When you use them, they do it. So it will look into like about 80, 90, sometimes more than 100 sources, and then it will prepare a detailed report about like whatever you have asked it to. So this is just a very technical example. You can also even ask it to deep search outfit for your date next week. It could be as fun as that, or maybe as deep tech as that. So it has acquired data from like a lot of sources. I think 67 more plus 7, it is it has taken data from somewhere around 74 sources and has prepared this detailed report on whatever is out there. So this is just an application type of thing that we have built on top of the APIs. You can use our APIs to build anything that you want. It could be a simple side project, like go to Reddit and write every cat related post that is out there, or maybe you can build a whole product, an app like Jarvis, which basically your end users will use, and they'll be able to get stuff done on any apps or websites. Basically when we talk about the TLDR, so the TLDR is like you just tell it what you want to achieve and it goes ahead and does exactly that for you on the web. We wanted to do this at scale and we wanted to do this cheap. We didn't want to just build a thin layer over existing technologies that would break and that would be susceptible to these changes in websites. So there are like two pillars that basically are the base of what we have built at Raccoon AI. One is telemetry. So basically it is predictive DOM caching, or simply it is the muscle memory of our whole API system. So just like you daily go on Google and you type ki, hey, I want to search something, and you just press the search button. You think about it, it's like subconscious. You just do it. So similarly, telemetry is like predictive DOM caching. So it caches the actions that it performs very frequently so that it can do them quickly without processing the whole page again and again. This is just basically a flowchart of how it works. So once user query comes in, it's tries to find a match in the whatever the data it has in cache. If it finds a match, it ranks the existing timelines, the previous flows that happened with those nodes, and if it is able to predict the next node, it proceeds. And if it is not, it processes the DOM and use our other part of our logic. The second pillar is extractor. Extractor is basically semantic DOM simplification. Again, very simply, it just extracts whatever is relevant for the query from the website and then processes actions on the basis of it, instead of extracting the whole DOM and sending it to LLMs, which most of the products that work somewhat similar to this today do. That's why we are able to do is like super cheap, super fast, and like at a very large scale. One of our early adopters is using it for like running thousands of form filling jobs daily. And there are like some great developers who are building on top of us some really cool applications, side projects. Like this is what we have right now. We just launched on Twitter yesterday, so we would love your support there. Over the next week, some really cool updates are being basically built, and you can expect some state-of-the-art results in browser agent space. So we are beating the previous benchmark by about 6% with an accuracy of somewhere around 92.7%, if I remember correctly. Apart from that, we are completely overhauling the developer dashboard experience. So if you have tried out Raccoon AI before, it would be like now a completely different experience for you. It would be really developer focused. It would be really easy to do and navigate through different things. I'll look forward to seeing you all at booth, answering more questions, showing you guys more demos. Thank you.
Thank you, Shubh. Up next, we have Rishank, GTM at Portkey.
Hi everyone, I'm Rishank, part of the founding team here at Portkey, leading GTM. Excited to be here, been a part of the Magicball community for a while now, and every time I see they're getting bigger and bigger. Earlier they used to do these events in cafes around Kurmangla, HSR, and now we are here. So very happy to be here. At Portkey, we are building the production stack for GenAI teams. So teams like Raccoon AI, SafeDAP AI, etc. Possibly they may find what we are kind of building to be useful. Looks like this. Wait, no, it doesn't. Yeah, too complex. Like, looks like this. So at Portkey, we built and open sourced the AI gateway pattern. This AI gateway pattern comes with inherent interoperability across multiple LLMs, observability so that you're able to view all the requests that you're making to LLMs, comes with routing capabilities so that you're able to do stuff like fallbacks, load balance, retries, conditional routing, etc. Comes with guardrails so that you can apply guardrails on the fly on all the requests that you make to LLMs, and comes with prompt management, security, and much more. Not this. This is kind of what we abstracted away and open sourced as part of our AI gateway pattern. To kind of take you deeper into really what's all going on when I talk about what we're doing at Putki, it's something like this. I'll take some time just on this slide. So when you build a GenAI feature or a product or a service, you would think that building that is job done. Of course, it's not. Your core GenAI feature is kind of a small part of the problem space that you need to tackle. You're going to want to have a logger associated with, attached with your GenAI feature so that you know when something goes wrong, when you want to debug, or when you just want to do token analytics, when you want to figure out what kind of chargebacks you should do, etc. The I/O for LLMs is prompt. So you want some separate system where you're able to do prompt management, context management, and some way where you're able to track changes to what's happening there. You're going to want to have guardrails so that you are able to enforce how the LLM should behave in real time, and then build better, resilient, reliable systems. Not just this. You don't only want to use, let's say, OpenAI as the whole bedrock for everything that you're going to do. When new models come up, you want to be able to try those out. When an open source model like Llama drops, you want to try that out. Maybe you got your fine-tuned LLM, you want to try that out. So you're going to want to have something like a router, which is able to help you switch between multiple LLMs. And there's, of course, this is when you're building an app for a team of 1, 2, 3 engineers. When you scale to more engineers, you're also going to want something around governance. Hey, who gets to create prompts? Who gets to push these prompts to production? Who gets to choose how the routing should behave? Who gets to view the logs? And a lot more. So essentially, that is what we're building at Putki. We abstract all of this away into a single AI gateway layer. I'm going to show you a quick demo. I'm just going to make a very simple request that will try to use everything that I've showed you here and tell me if you like it. Let me see if I can. Yeah, perfect. So, I'm using the Putki SDK. You could also be using the OpenAI SDK. We are completely OpenAI API compatible. What I'm doing is I'm sending requests to 3 prompt templates that I've created on Putki. I'll of course also take you through those and asking a simple question 3 times. I'm asking it to 3 different models. I'm asking who won the Champions Trophy 2025. I suppose everybody here knows the answer, but I think not all the LLMs know the answer. And we'll see what's going on. So I'm now going back into the Putki dashboard. Let me zoom into this a little bit more. I'm going to switch to the traces view. All right, so this is kind of what it looks like. I've used the prompt module on Putki. I've used a bunch of functionalities that are there on Putki. Everything from where I write the prompts, everything from being able to switch between multiple LLMs, being able to view these things on the logs view. And kind of this is where it all comes together. So you can see that the first request I'm sending to Perplexity Sonar. So this prompt, it's sending to Perplexity Sonar. It cost me about 0.0 cents, and it has kind of been checked out because I've done a cache hit. Took about 1.3 seconds to deliver. I asked it a very simple question, who won the Champions Trophy? And it gave me the right answer, India won the ICC Champions Trophy. All well and good. Now what happens when I send the exact same question to Claude 3.7 Sonnet? This is the new model launched by Anthropic, but its knowledge cutoff is nowhere around 2025. I'm asking it the same question. Of course, I'm changing the prompt a bit. I'm telling it, if a user asks you a question you don't know, then just pretend and then, maybe give a sassy answer back. So that's what you see here. The Champions Trophy hasn't happened yet, and my knowledge is only up to this date, etc. Okay, so some things are happening. I've kind of queried the same prompt to Perplexity Sonar. I've queried the same prompt to Claude 3.7 Sonnet. I've also used the same opportunity to show you another feature that we have at Putki, which is where you're able to enforce guardrails on how the LLM should behave. So what I've done is in this prompt, along with asking the question, I actually just sneakily added my phone number as part of my prompt. Now on the back end, what I've done is I've told Putki that any scan for any PII detections as part of my input. And if you do detect those, this kill the request, don't send that to the LLM at all. Becomes very relevant when you want to ensure that none of your sensitive user data goes back to the LLM. Kind of that's what you see here. I got an error from Portkey API itself. It says the guardrail checks defined have failed. I had asked that there should be no PII in the request, and that failed. So this is kind of everything. You can see that every time I do a failed guardrail, some feedback also gets registered, like -5, and I'll be able to view everything that's happening here. Let me see now. Let me unravel everything that I showed you here and just take you through all of these small modules fast. So the first thing that I did on Portkey is Portkey Gateway is also a centralized authentication layer for any and all LLM providers that you want to access. Let's say you deployed a model on Azure, or you deployed a model on Vertex, or you're just directly using the Anthropic API. What you'll be able to do on Portkey is you'll be able to create a virtual key, like a virtual credit card, disposable credit card. You'll be able to come and add that authentication API key here. And once that's done, there's absolutely nothing else you need to do. Now that model is integrated onto Portkey, you'll be able to go to the Portkey playground and be able to start playing with that prompt right away. So let me go to a template that I've already created. Let's say this one. I'm asking the question, this is my question, who won Champions Trophy 2025? I'm asking that question to the Sonar model on Perplexity. I'm leveraging Portkey's prompt playground. This is actually a new feature that we just launched as part of our Prompt Engineering Studio launch. And of course, I ask it a question, it gives me the answer. I also know what is the throughput. It took 10 tokens per second. It spent about 29 tokens. It took about 3 seconds to answer. But here's kind of where it gets interesting. I've now queried Perplexity Sonar, but I can effortlessly switch to Anthropic. Let's say I'm now sending my request to Claude 3.5 Haiku. I'd be able to ask it the same question. Now for the people in this room who are familiar with how the Anthropic API works, how the Perplexity API works, how the Open API works, etc., you'd know that they're not perfectly compatible. While the API signatures are somewhat similar, in Anthropic you're sending your request to a messages endpoint. In Perplexity you're sending your request to a chat completions endpoint. But if you're using Portkey, Portkey unifies everything under a common API schema. Of course, it's also open source, and then gives you access so that you're able to do cool stuff like this. I could save this prompt template, and then I'd just be able to refer to it with this prompt template ID. Exactly what I've done here in my code snippet. I'm not really sending the user message as part of my final code. Now this is very nice because it allows me to do separation of concerns. I've got a prompt engineer or a product manager whose job is to just write the prompt, whose job is not to go and take those prompts to production. That is the engineer's job. What happens typically in a lot of these setups is every time you want to go and update the prompt, you have to wait 3 to 4 days once like that prompt change is deployed to production. That's kind of expected. Those are how your development cycles work. But now because we're completely delinked everything, I could say something like this: you're not a helpful assistant. I could update my prompt here. I'm just going to publish it. Now the nice thing is when I do this, my actual code doesn't change. It continues looking the exact same. It did, but now I've just updated the underlying message that I'm sending it. And of course, because I'm on Portkey, I'd be able to get all the version history. I can see that there was this version where I say you're not a helpful assistant, and there was version 1 where I say you are a helpful assistant. And so you get the gist. There's of course more you can do. You can assign labels. You can say, hey man, I'm not doing shady stuff. I've got multiple deployments. I've got one prompt template that's on production. I'll be able to tag it as that. I've got one prompt template that's on staging. I'd be able to tag it as that. And there's of course more that Portkey can do, but I'll stop here and show you another feature. I'm going to show you guardrails. This is where I've enabled PII detection that I just showed you. So what I'm going to do here is I've done something very simple. Portkey has over 55 different guardrails supported by some of the world's biggest state-of-the-art guardrail providers and the ones that we've built ourselves. We've made all of them available on the Portkey platform. And I'd be able to do something simple. Let's say I want to use the PII guardrail from Petronas AI. I just add that guardrail here. I would say every time I detect PII as part of my request, I want to deny the request. So, I got PII detected, just kill the request, don't do anything. And that's about it. This is where I'll stop for now, but I'm outside. Please bug me if you have any more questions and if you want to discuss anything more. Thank you.
Thank you, Vishank. We now have Ritesh, ML engineer at DevRev.
Hi. Yeah. So let's talk about conversational AI. Science fiction has actually promised us a lot about future work. So here we are seeing some examples of how advanced conversation interaction looks like. And finally, with LLMs and advancements in reasoning, we are almost there. So what this leads us to is a world where there are huge promises and heightened expectations. However, we know LLMs, when they are reasoning or acting on something, the most important thing is the data in context. And if LLMs take garbage in, you'll get garbage out. So how does enterprise deal with agents? So despite the enthusiasm, in enterprise, all the data is distributed across silos. There's no unified system of record for enterprise. Like, for example, some issues, for some people, issues might be in a system called Jira, tickets might be in Zendesk, and so on. Like, although we can build agents which connect to these systems, let's say an agent that connects to Slack, that uses Slack search API to do some actions. But Slack doesn't provide you semantic search endpoint. It just provides you a syntactic endpoint, and I'm sure you know Slack search isn't good. So that means your agent that's supposed to operate using Slack data is as bad as Slack search. So this is where DevRev comes in. So DevRev has airdrop, with which people can connect their I think it's fine, yeah. I hope it's clear to everyone. Yeah. So DevRev has airdrop, using which people can connect their systems. And here what I mean by connecting systems or bringing data from systems is to natively ingest the data. And what DevRev provides you is the knowledge graph. Yeah, here what do I mean by knowledge graph? It's basically understanding this data natively and providing semantic search and syntactic search and hybrid search and analytics capabilities on top of your own data. DevRev is conversational AI at work right now. So this is a broad overview of what DevRev does. So here we have a bunch of systems that can be integrated into DevRev, and DevRev basically ingests everything. And on top of the platform, DevRev provides you with search, workflows, and analytics. And these search, workflows, and analytics will be the skills for your agent. And using this, you can automate and make your life more like the one we have seen in the first slide. So I'll show a demo on how we build agents at DevRev and how a sample agent looks like. So this is Maple Software, a fictitious transaction company. And here, this is a transaction dashboard. So here we see that there's a failed transaction around here. That's for euros. So let's just check with the agent if transactions are supported in euros. So I'll just query that, and yeah. Let's wait and see what the agent says. So the agent actually says that transactions are in fact supported in euros. And how does the agent know about this? This is RAG on basically the company's knowledge base. And now, however, my transaction is failing here. Why could that be? So let's just ask. Let's see what agent comes up with. Yes. So here we see that it has checked my recent transactions, and it has also identified that there's one failed transaction, and the failure reason is euro is not enabled for my account. And it asks me, would you like me to enable euro? And of course. And so before it gives an answer for this, let's see what has happened here. So basically, agent has a skill to get recent transactions, and among those recent transactions, it found a failed transaction and associated metadata to the failed transaction. That's how it's able to answer here. And once it's enabled, here we see that a euro currency is shown here. So yeah, now let's see how this agent is configured in DevRev. So yeah, this is our agent builder UI. So where you can define the instructions for the agent. This is the goal guidance as to how to operate and so on. And the list of skills configured to the agent. So you have list transaction, enable currency, and so on. Basically whatever a transaction or payment company requires. And what's the knowledge that your agent can operate on. Here in this case, this is a customer facing agent. So the knowledge should be your articles. But if it's your internal agent, knowledge could be issues and all other stuff that your developer can access. Now let's actually double click on one of the skills and see like how in our skill builder a skill looks like. So this is one of the skill that gets a transaction. Here there's a manual trigger which defines the schema of the skill, and there's list transactions that basically makes an API call to the customer's website and fetches the transaction, and there's an agent callback which sends output back to the agent. Now here what we have just demoed is a simple agent made for this demo purposes, and in real enterprise use cases the agents we require may not be such simpler ones, and already people have their existing very complex workflows. So how do we place ourselves there? So what our agent builder allows is to not just build simple agents, but you can embed agents inside workflows and have agentic workflows and vice versa. So I'll show you like what we have for DevRev. Basically, if you go to devrev.ai and chat with our support agent, how does the workflow look like? So yeah, here we see this is in fact the workflow that we define for our agent, and this is currently in production right now, and it's much simpler. Yeah. So in short, we have seen like how agents operate in DevRev and how do we build agents in DevRev. That's it for my presentation. We'll be at the booth if you have any questions. Thank you.
Up next, we're heading to the hands-on booth showcase at the Experience Lounge. This is where you get to see innovation in action, interact with cutting-edge startups, and explore groundbreaking first-hand tech. Outside, there are 10 plus startups that are showcasing their work, including DevRev, GenFuse AI, Test Sigma, and many more. We'll all proceed shortly to the Experience Lounge, where you can check them out and network with the founders. There's a small announcement to make, a super exciting one in fact. We are excited to launch something that's going to be a game changer to all of us in dev infra. You know how AI and dev tools are evolving at lightning speed? New platforms, new frameworks. It's like every week there's something new to keep up with. And let's be honest, who's got the time to track everything? Well, we've done the heavy lifting for you. Introducing Dev Infra's report, your one-stop resource for everything happening in developer infrastructure. The hottest trends, the must-know tools, the real insights, all at one place. If you're scaling infra, optimizing pipelines, or just figuring out which tools are worth your time, this is your go-to playbook. No noise, just what matters. So grab your copy, stay ahead of time, and let's build something smarter, faster, and better. It has been an amazing day, isn't it? We've heard game-changing insights, seen incredible demos, and witnessed firsthand how AI is being built right here in Bengaluru. A huge shout out to our amazing volunteers. This event wouldn't run smoothly without you. And of course, a big thank you to our partners, Stripe, Lightspeed Venture Partners, and Grayscale Ventures for making this possible. But most importantly, to all of you, this is just the beginning. Keep building, keep innovating, because AI isn't happening somewhere else, it's happening here, and you're at the center of it. The fact that we've all come together, sharing, contributing, and exchanging ideas across different backgrounds is a statement in itself. We're now open at the Startup Experience Lounge for food and beverages. Grab a drink, meet fellow founders, and keep conversations going. Don't forget to check out our booths outside and hear directly from founders. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the summit.